Hello, everyone. Right then, we are back. We've popped some pans. We saw Shepard claiming the fact that he is the big man for Empire. And we had a beautiful little game on Clubhouse. Two beautiful men that will be joining me, though, of course, are Tim and Des. Boys, how are you feeling about the pandering that's been going on the stream?
All about it. You got him through the pans, Jackie.
Why is yours warped, Tim? Also, hang on a minute.
What have you done?
It's not. That's where you pour from.
These are pots.
I see.
You've brought pots.
That's a pan.
I said specifically a pan.
It's a saucepan.
No, that's a pot.
No, it's a saucepan.
Look how deep it is. Don't tell me that's a pan.
He got him through the
It's
pots.
called a saucepan. Google saucepan and you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
He got him through the pots.
Right.
Can I just say, Jackie, I'm not at all surprised that your pan is not a default colour like silver or black, that actually it's quite exotic in orange and red.
It's very artisanal, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I really dig it. I'm not surprised at all. I don't know why I expected anything different, to be honest, either.
No, we only have high-quality pans here in the Peters household. It's what we work with. And we only have high-quality games here on the B stream, don't we, boys? But that's enough panning around for now. We'll get back to business. Let's talk about what's coming up next, Tim. I know this has got a couple of teams that are going to get you excited.
Can't wait. Invictus versus Liquid. We were just talking about it in the break. Are Invictus going to make a game of this? Or Liquid just going to come in and stomp? Are we going to see a Nesk and Palu show again? I think there could be a few surprises here. I'm not going to go as far as to say maybe Liquid drop points, but I think that we're going to have a game on our hands.
I mean, look at yesterday. They slapped people silly. What?
It's more, I still saw the pan. No, it's like he's fully committed to the pot. It's become the head
life
work.
of pandemonium right now, Jackie. It's going absolutely nowhere. If I've stolen your pun, I'm so sorry, by the way.
No, that was good. That was good.
Now, looking how Liquid played out yesterday, flawless couple of games, looked absolutely phenomenal. I'd be shocked if they really end up losing this one out to IG. IG played well. Is it well enough to beat a team like Liquid? Nah, not for me.
Well, let's start off with Liquid then. Obviously, huge quantity, known side, one of the best in World Siege, one of the best in Brazil that always left us with our jaws on the floor, Tim, whenever we saw them back in LATAM. Another exciting game, right? Regional matchup that we very rarely get to see. APAC versus LATAM. This has got to have you gushing for Liquid, right?
It really does. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get Nesk and Palu out of the way. We're going to mention those names. It's something that everybody expects. Nesk, Palu, amazing every time. There we go, done. I want to talk about Sexy Cake. I want to talk about PSK. I want to talk about Moringa. These three are phenomenal players as well. We saw it from Moringa yesterday. He really stepped up when they were just lacking a little bit of kills on console. Sexy Cake as well, having a great game there. And they are just so capable. They're such a great backline that sort of facilitate Nesk and Palu to go out and do what they do. We're seeing a few Nesk things on screen now. He went absolutely wild inside of games, won the Wham. I just could not. That is the one. The headshot onto Geo on the rappel was just phenomenal. And the thing is, with Liquid, any one of these players can be surviving, and you know that something special could be on the cards. That's the reality.
Man. Honestly, watching back some of these replays, it does make you want to call him Nesquik because the man must go down like a milkshake. He just looks so tasty with the shots that we've seen hitting. Sexy getting some love as well on the stream, which is always nice to see. Des, another core component of the roster that sometimes gets a little bit overlooked, but hopefully going into this game, we'll have another opportunity to shine, right?
Yeah, I mean, across all members, Nesk is the one that everyone gets really, really excited about. You thought Nesquik, I was thinking maybe Panacea, given it's the solution to all of their woes. Ooh. It feels like the shots that he was hitting yesterday, 6-3 Ks as we referenced, absolute godsend to this team at points. The same could be said for Palu back in the first half. Moringa stepped up in one of the games as well. Across the roster, there's just so much strength between them that I think it's really hard to count Liquid out, and that's why realistically I don't see him dropping this to IG.
Outrageously highly rated players. Meanwhile, on the flip side, of course, we have their opposition, Invictus. Now, Invictus, I think it was interesting, right? Obviously, the conversations we were having about this team, we were looking at the fact that they've got two best of ones back-to-back yesterday that we were worried for them. We were thinking it's going to be 0-2. Instead, Tim, they were able to go 1-1.
They were, and it was very close to 2-0. They pushed Empire the distance. I was really, really impressed by this Invictus side yesterday. What I enjoyed were two things particularly, and one leads into the other. The first, they were willing to try something. They were willing to roll the dice. Hysterics, kicking it in the bathtub, for example, just waiting for his moment, popping up and getting a couple of kills. We had them rushing in and just destroying TSM in round 1, managing to just absolutely open up the defense, and that's what I really enjoyed, and that leads into my second point about Invictus, and that is that they were just fun to watch. There was never a dull moment, whether they were winning or losing. They were trying something, and you just love to see it. And I, and probably everybody at home, found myself hoping that these attempts they were making would come off. It really endeared me to them. It was like, you know what, if they're going to give it a try, I hope it works out for them.
Absolutely, especially when you think as well how close they went in that final game versus Empire. Late into the night, found their footing, they gave it their all, but they couldn't quite get it over the mark. A player that certainly did perform though, Des, someone that we've been giving a little bit of love here and there, of course, is Joe. For the viewers at home that might not know why he's so impactful, why should you keep your eye open for Joe?
Joe was actually a player I wanted to mention, so I'm so glad that you brought him up as well. For a player that steps in that many wouldn't recognize, Ysera used to be the old player on the lineup for them. Joe has always been the sub for this roster, stepping in when someone had military service, for example, or other requirements that they had to go and tend to. But I've been really impressed by him stepping up so far. It's not like he's come in and absolutely, blown the standings to smithereens and shown that he's some prodigy that was always hidden away and kept secret by the side of Invictus Gaming. But with how things are currently sitting, he's middle of the pack as it stands, got the highest cost on the team. He's making himself known in this kind of Zofia mute role, the sort of flex position that you see in a lot of teams. I think he slotted in really well, given he's only had one stage to play with the team, and even then, Ysera played for the vast majority of that. Really impressed by him for his first major showing.
We'll see if Juicy Joe can juggle Liquid once we get onto the servers. It does look like we're starting to get all of our teams coming into the lobby. I suppose it's fair that we set our focus then on where this battle is going to be taking place. Let's have a look at the veto for this matchup. Tim, as per usual, best of one, LATAM versus APAC, regional differences. How's that going to affect this veto?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, thinking about the veto, what we've got to recognise is there's not going to be any easy map for Invictus to go to here. Really, the best thing they can do is just steer this in the direction of where they are going to be most comfortable. I wouldn't mind seeing them on Villa again. It was a good performance from them on there, and I feel like there's maybe a little bit more that they could bring, with some Liquid on there as well. They've shown their hand a little bit. There's maybe a bit of work that could have been done. I think that might be one of the answers potentially for Invictus, would be let's go somewhere that we've already seen Liquid, so they could have studied it in the last 24 hours.
I'm sniffing maybe towards a cafe, or I don't know. I think cafe could be the one we go to. Both teams do play it a fair bit. Club's also really high up on the preference order. I'd like to think for Liquid that we take Clubhouse away, to be honest, because IG historically have been a massive Clubhouse team. Glad to see that disappear. For about most of last year, they bullied teams with Monty, so I think it's been the sensible pick to come through. At this point, I'm kind of riding on it being a cafe. Don't want to see Villa again. You know my thoughts on Coastline. Go on, give us a cafe. Let's have it.
Oh, my. Spooky bit is, right, obviously the last 3 maps that have been left in the pool here, all of them are pretty good for Liquid, and we get Coastline. Oh, no. Tim, this is giving me BR6 flashbacks all over again, mate.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy game for Invictus here, but, you've got to look at it and say Furia did this with SSG, managed to get themselves a little bit of an unexpected win there. Could it be the same for Invictus? Are they going to come in here and it's Coastline? You roll the dice. No matter how good a team you are, you come here, there's always the potential that something strange happens and the wheels come off, because it is one of those maps where you can't really legislate for it.
Well, Coastline it is. Liquid versus Invictus. Who will be coasting to a victory and who's going to be left like driftwood? That's the big old question. Tim, Des, get into it and find out.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Another Coastline game, Tim. We had a fantastic one yesterday between SSG and Fury. I'm hopeful that we get another phenomenal one here. I think for the longest time, Coastline was a really popular map in APAC. Teams like Giants wouldn't really go there, but we did see a lot of the Japanese teams doing it. So I think IG are going to they've wet their teeth on this map a fair bit in the past, I'd say. The same story can be said for Liquid. Should be an interesting affair.
That's it. I think if we go to Coastline once per day, Des, I think that could work out well. We just go there, we have one awesome game a day on Coastline, and we call it done for the day.
You know what I think it is? It's like having to take some really bitter medicine every single day. You know that it's good for your health, even though you don't want to take it, as long as it's given in small doses. Then it's okay.
See, I'm the guy that's like, yeah, I'm fine with it. As you know, I quite enjoy Coastline. We're going to be coming into it very, very soon. We are off to Ibiza. La Perla Blanca is the resort where we're going to be facing off between Liquid and Invictus. Can there be another upset on the cards? It would, it's fair to say, have to be the biggest upset yet for Invictus Gaming if they're going to turn anything out of this one. We've got Zofia, we've got Thatcher, we've got Mozzie, all taken off the board. The final ban comes in from Liquid. It's going to be Valkyrie.
Alrighty, these are all pretty, as I say, not all pretty standard, but looking at the Thatcher, the Valkyrie, ones that you would come to expect. Mozzie, you can kind of say, okay, bit of an edge ban. Zofia always screams to me, target ban coming through, looking to make people uncomfortable. Completely understand it, even with the nerf coming through to Zofia lately. Of course, that recoil going through the roof, it felt like, for the most part. But you know who we spoke about in the pregame? We spoke about Joe. What did I say his main operator's been at SI so far? Zofia, of course, alongside the Mozzie on the other side. Of Mute, sorry. So in this case, they've taken away one of the main strengths of Joe, putting him onto an operator that maybe is not 100% sure of. Really keen to see if that impacts his impact on the game.
Yeah, it's always interesting to watch those where you've got a target ban because it forces them onto somebody else, potentially taking an operator away from another player. It sometimes just causes the whole team to juggle around. Sometimes they'll just bring up a straight up alternative and nobody else is impacted. But we'll see as we get into things just how it plays out. Liquid are going to come in on the defense to begin with. Nothing wildly unusual on the side of the defense. Palu on the Jaeger, it's always a scary prospect, putting that 416 in his hands, you know, the sort of damage that he can do with it. Site number one is going to be Hooker and Billiards. Getting some vertical angles opened up into Sunrise. I'm interested to see, is that potentially being used to play onto the window from underneath there, or is it just thinking ahead as a potential plant spot if they try to rush deep into Hooker? We'll see as things pan out.
Alrighty. I'm always keen to see how Coastline plays out. You know my general feelings towards the map anyway, that normally is a bit of a team deathmatch style map at points. What we saw yesterday was the real beauty in team-based play on the map, though, setting up crossfires, isolating members of the enemy team, and punishing them for over-roams. And it became this tedious balance of, for the defenders, how far is too far? How long can we hold a location before we're forced to push back? And for the attackers, can we punish them in time? SSG were very quick on the uptake to punish Furia when they over-roamed a little bit too much. And although it can really come back on the same side from Furia on their attacks when it came around to executes, absolutely phenomenal. So no doubt going to be a bit of difference between these two teams that I'm really keen to see unfold.
Kick and Nesh just getting aggressive onto the service door. There's the one punch, and there is the dip out from Sexy Cake. Manages to take Joe down. Forget about a target ban. That's a target kill as they take down the Nomad. That leaves us 5 versus 4 very early in the round, and I just love the interplay between the two players there as Nesk just sets it up and Sexy Cake just smashes it out of the park.
Beautiful start, Joe. The one that we spoke about being targeted by the bans, not just by the bans apparently, but also by the members of Liquid. First one to lose his life in this fixture. Things slowing down a little bit for Invictus here. Note how they barely have any control out towards the east. It's all stacked up down towards the south, through Luggage, through Aqua, as they're looking for what's going to shape it to be a very, very default execute. Liquid should be able to get to one underneath if they want here. Look for a C4 play. Moringa, I'm looking at you. Sexy Cake also on side. So much so that I think that's maybe slightly acknowledged by Luna Metal, who's going to get himself downstairs outside and look to hold that angle to let the rest of the team get away with what should be, or hopefully is, a flawless execute.
Could be dangerous for Invictus here. They need to sit up and take notice. If Team Liquid are going to come out and start playing like that from the off, taking the aggression, taking the run-outs and getting right up in the faces, it's the perfect play style for Coastline, and it's something that Invictus could struggle to get a hold of if they don't do it soon. It could be like a runaway train. The longer it goes, the faster it moves and the more difficult it becomes to stop. Sexy Cake going down. Is he going to take a peek from that Sunrise window? He's certainly having a think about it. There is a man out by Ruins. Not careful, he's going to get ruined as Sexy Cake decides better of it, dips himself away. Going to take down the drone, spotted underneath, so he's going to need to rotate out on the Malusi, but no, he's back into his spot.
right, then Plant going down. Even with 9 men still alive, Joe, the only one that died earlier in the round, 20 seconds in, and there's that C4 that I mentioned. This one coming lateral, mind you, from Moringa. There is one more holding on the downstairs. Moringa, the spray down with the SMG. The push coming out from the door from Sexy Cake. I had to think it was Nesk here. No, it was Sexy Cake finding the closing kill. A flawless first round to start things off for IG. That's what we came in this game expecting.
Yeah, big start from Team Liquid there coming out. You can see the confidence of them inside of the server. This is the problem for Invictus. You're playing against the Team Liquid side that have had 2 wins already. The mood in the camp has got to be high. They've come out, they've really started strong in the tournament. They're going to be feeling very good about the way the other games have gone as well. They're in such a strong position in Group D. They can taste it. Blood's in the water, and they know that a win here against Invictus, and not quite mathematically, but they're getting very close to having themselves guaranteed into the next round, into the playoffs. So Liquid, they're not going to mess about when it comes to this. They're going to want to just get it locked down, and I think Invictus could just be coming up against them at the wrong time here, especially with the way that we've started there on a flawless round.
I mean, not just that, but look at how they played yesterday, right? They were like terrifying even there. Nesk was on a map, one as mentioned, 6 3Ks in one day. It's a ridiculous number of multi-kills, and I imagine it's pretty high up on the stats for that sort of side as well. Here, a technical timeout coming in. As you can see, we'll just give it a second while Liquid sort out any issues that they might have so we can get back into things. But from that first round, already a good showing, things continuing as they started yesterday.
They're just discussions ongoing. We will get back in as soon as we can do. We won't be too long, I wouldn't have thought. We've just got a small change needs to be made, and we will be back straight into the game. 1-0 so far for Liquid. Then successful defense of Hooker. I would expect to see them probably go down to Kitchen for their next site. If I'm thinking right, usually we don't tend to see Liquid too often play that Penthouse and Theatre, but what I would say is if they get Blue Bar and Sunrise locked down as the 3rd site, we might see them take it as a 4th and just go for the full rotation. They have been known to do that, so we'll see just how it plays out as we go. We're a long time away from that. That's assuming that Liquid are just going to keep winning round after round. I'm sure that Invictus are going to have something to say about that. They certainly did yesterday against 2 very good teams in TSM and Empire, so they are capable of taking rounds. What they need to be careful of here, Invictus, is not allowing this to get on top of them. You know, you're playing against Team Liquid, you're already stacking up against big names inside of the server. A lot of experience on the side of Invictus, so that's not going to bother them too much. It's not going to be the first time that they've played against these players, but once it gets to 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, you start feeling like, you know, this is Team Liquid, how do we come back from this? And so I think a round or 2 nice and early for Invictus will do this game the world of good.
I agree with you as well. Yeah, just at least show you've got that fight. And I can't really think of too many games that we've had on the B stream where it has been a 2, 3, 4 round streak for one team pulling themselves way in the lead for the most part. It's been 1 round to one team, then 1 to the other, and the game kind of evolves from there. So if we're following that trend, Invictus should find themselves with a round here. They made a change in with Jordan coming out of the Capitale. On the other side, you're looking at Sexy Cake stepping across the playing on that Vigil. Where it could cause a little bit of trouble around the map if they're not too careful.
Yeah, Liquid need to try and just take full advantage of that. Palu on the alibi is a scary prospect. That NX4 Storm is just an absolute laser beam of a weapon, and in the hands of somebody like Palu could certainly be deadly. So keep an eye on exactly where he plays, where he is out on the roam. But yep, Invictus, they need to come in, need to make sure that they are cornering operators like Vigil. They need to hunt down Sexy Cake. Not the easiest job when he can make himself invisible to those attacker drones, but one way or another, they need to find him, pin him down, and they need to just get him pinched and closed out, taken off the board early in the round, because if he's there late on and you're thinking about executes, you can't be thinking about Vigil, you can't be thinking about where Sexy Cake is. Now then, there could be an early challenge coming along. Sexy Cake is pushing forward. There's Joe in front of him. It was the same battle that we saw last time around. Sexy Cake won out. Is he going to get another here? The drone comes in, and that does mean that he has to dip away. Joe was well aware of his position. That had me worried there. I saw the barrel of the gun. I didn't realise there was a prism there.
No, me neither as well. I was like, but no, all good, all good. Seeing how things shape up, Joe, on the Nomad, same as in the last round, his responsibility is to make sure they can't get hit on the flank by these members like the Vigil. So at least shut them down early on, stop them being able to do anything, if not gated behind those Nomad air jabs would be a great start. Speakeasy is going to find Moringa on the Legion. Now, not the end of the world to lose it, but of course, the longer a Legion stays alive, the more of those goo mines can get out on the field, the more disruptive you can be. Bit of a shame to lose Moringa so early on.
Certainly is. We saw the impact that he could have yesterday. We have an air jab triggered there by Sexy Cake. He's going to take the opportunity to just dip back into the map, look to support Parlu, but that does open up a path for him. You got to remember that. There's been a trigger there, and there's been no consequences, and that's just coming to challenge. I thought he'd again left it a little bit late. These decoys are playing havoc with us this round. The Gemini clone just giving the information, and we can see we've got a little bit of a standoff through security and Sunroom there. But Sexy Cake, don't forget, luggage is now potentially open. If there was only one air jab played there, it could be moved through, and that's something that Invictus need to be very aware of.
This is a really weird round where IG have got so much focus on the kind of southwest side of the map now. Office, Aqua, that's where many of them are basing themselves. Let's not forget, this is a kitchen service site. Yet they've got no real presence so far inside of VIP, inside of Penthouse with the vertical control. They're just even trying to find a way forward throughout the map, and so far Liquid are holding them back completely and saying, no, you shall not pass, you shall have no ground. The nice long-range kill coming out from Parley, the 1.5 on that Storm doing work. They see the head, they see the beret, it's like a red target at a carnival, but they can't hit it. PSK to close things out. Liquid taking 2 rounds on the bounce.
Unfortunate for Invictus there. They sort of had a solid start. They got themselves in. They jabbed off. They did everything right. They got that opening kill onto Moringa. But the problem was, they never dealt with Sexy Cake or Parlu on the top floor. I think they felt like the air jabs had been deployed. They've been sort of cornered over towards Penthouse and Theatre. Right, we don't need to worry about that too much. But they did need to worry about it, because that's where 2 of the kills came from, particularly one from Sexy Cake onto Joe that really opened things up for Liquid. It was the catalyst that drove them forward for the next 10-15 seconds, as we saw then player after player drop on the side of Invictus. And for me, like I say, that top floor roam clearance just was never completed, and it needed to be. It's not an easy thing to play into Sexy Cake and Parlu and just clear them off the map, but it came back to haunt Invictus. You can't just ignore them and drop down and try to push from the ground floor, because you've got to account for those operators. You know that they're going to pressure you later on in the round.
You know, the whole little pan segment that we had earlier? It's like breaking the fourth wall, off topic for a second. The R6 Esports account has given us all new profile pictures of us without pans.
I mean, it's very kind of them.
I feel it probably needs to be wielded for the event. After this game, we'll have to go and update social media and just be the pan boys until the end of the broadcast tomorrow.
I'm all about it. I mean, ultimately, hit him through the pants. That's all I can say.
All I'm saying, Tim, is you started this.
What can I say? I get excited about Siege.
I'll tell you what. I'm not going to pressure too hard on this, or Norway will make another Reddit thread about me. Let's avoid that one.
Yeah, that's it. You don't want... Reddit have got my corner, Des. Reddit have got my corner. That's what it's all about.
Mate, everyone wants to back Vin Diesel or Ratface, depending on what you want to call yourself on the day.
Oh, if only they knew, Des. We're going to come into round number 3. 5 versus 5. Liquid are 2-0 up against Invictus Gaming, and they've looked pretty convincing so far. Invictus need to make sure that they get the brakes on this train before it gets up too much pace. If it gets ahead of steam, it's going to be very, very difficult to stop it moving. Now then, I'm going to have a challenge from the Jaeger of PSK, potentially onto Office Door here. He's just aware that there could be a pinch coming from the blue window. Jordan manages to get a kill onto Parlu. Invictus 2 rounds in a row now getting that entry kill. I'd like to see them follow it up with the rest of the round, get themselves 1 on the board, and just keep themselves in touch here.
As it steps forward. 5 versus 4, never a bad start. The first time Invictus have looked a little bit snappy on the entry for the first time. Stepping down to that 2-minute mark. Don't forget we are focusing on the downstairs as well, so whilst there is a little bit of focus on the upstairs, it's going to be one of those ones where you start thinking, okay, well, who gets a late round flank? Who does some damage from above or potentially across the courtyard from lobby is the other one to consider. Jordan getting himself inside of security, but Sexy Cake is lurking nearby and needs to be wary of this one. In fact, I think they just about pass each other. Has no idea that he's in there, waiting for him instead to rotate through this double window, an angle that we don't normally see contested.
There they go. They know each other's location. Now Sexy Cake taking a pot shot as he moves past the window, but not going to take any damage onto Jordan, who's just holding down that office door and looking to prevent the rotation coming in from PSK. Now, that drone deployment should tell PSK that there's a man on the rappel of that window, because there's not really another angle to get it in through the window from there. Now, he's going to dip away. He uses the rotation into blue bar. That is smart movement, but ultimately, it's going to be Joe to shut him down. Takes a lot of damage in doing so, but gives Invictus a nice advantage now. They need to power on from here, need to get this locked down. The third site was always going to be important. It's a great opportunity for Invictus to close themselves out around, but there goes Nesk. It's the first kill that we've seen from him today. That's going to be onto Hysterics. Actually, I tell a lie, it's actually second. We've missed one along the way, but Nesk is always a force to be reckoned with in the late round.
You know exactly what it can be like. We saw him absolutely traumatizing TSM inside of Aviator yesterday on Villa. So it'll be the same story from him playing in Hookah here, looking to challenge out towards Aqua. IG, everyone stacked up on this south side. Again, it's a pretty binary push overall. One playing upstairs, and now that he's dead, Nesk has got basically full reign of the top floor. There is someone moving across to look to try and challenge him here on the rappel, but already IG are down to 3. Is that 3 versus 3? But the advantage is not with them in terms of positioning, because they've got a single doorway to push through and 10 seconds, Ace.
Speakeasy with diffuser in hand, pushes into blue bar, got the opportunity to put this down. Jordan gets Moringa, but Nesk comes in with a triple kill. How many times have we seen him do this? How many times will we see him do it? 5 versus 3, and it's Nesk with kill after kill to bring Liquid back into it. Speakeasy getting the diffuser down though. Joe takes big damage, does get the kill onto Nesk. It's now Sexy Kate, 1 versus 2. Out goes the Nitro, challenged around the bar. Speakeasy not only getting the diffuser down, but finding the final kill. Invictus get around on the board, and not before time. That is exactly what they needed.
Much better, yeah. I mean, in that 3 versus 3, it looked for a second, to me at least, like they wouldn't be able to get away with that. But they get that clear. They get control of Sunrise. They get the plant down. And Nesk, even with the 3K, cannot do enough. And I think getting on the board is the best thing you can have for a bit of motivation there as well. Rather than feeling downtrodden that you can't find a single round, sometimes just getting anything on there is going to be enough. 2-1 to Liquid then, still with a slight advantage at least for now. But at least Invictus now have got something to play off of.
Need to locate and defuse as many bombs
so 2-1, we stand to Liquid, as you say. Invictus just getting themselves a foundation there, something to build from. And if they can get this one, if they could get a successful attack onto Hookah, this would be a really, really good couple of rounds for them to level things up and let Liquid know that they're in for a game here. And that's exactly what everybody wants to see. We don't want any easy wins here. We don't want teams running away with it. We want nice, close, competitive games that go the distance. We've got the Arune on side from Ness, going to apply those laser gates to Hookah window and door. That's just going to prevent too much quick access at least. Now we've got the hole in the floor once again that gives a line of sight down to Sunrise, but it's not something that was used last time. We'll see if it's something that's utilised this time. But that being said, I don't think Invictus put a man on the rappel last time around, so it'll obviously dependent on somebody being out there.
You hear the C4 rip coming out there as well, hoping to find something at least initially. More of a pre-place, I think, coming out from, well, no one. That's SK gets it in the back pocket, but he's looking for this window. Nomad Joe once again stepping away up onto the roof. He has been called out, don't forget, as well in the earlier round. I think it was in the first round where he found himself as the first death in the game. So this time being a little bit more cautious. Don't blame him at all. Throwing inside as well to keep an eye on where Sexy Kate might be, because you want to keep a close eye on that C4. The last thing you want, repel onto a window and suddenly the whole thing's blown out and you're dead to a C4.
No opening. Well, I was just about to say no opening kill yet, but it's Sexy Cake who steps up. Headshot onto Speakeasy. Not easy to speak sometimes. 5 versus 4 Liquid there, as they couldn't have been a better person to kill, could it? 5-4 as Liquid get the advantage, but Jordan manages to get the late trade onto Sexy Cake, level it out. 4 versus 4. Invictus keep fighting, and that's what I like to see here, Des. They're not scared. When the kills come in, they keep fighting. They don't let it get on top of them within the round, and that's really how you've got to be here, because you are going to lose men against Team Liquid, but getting in and getting those trades are important. Liquid have been pretty much pushed back onto site now, so Invictus have got the run of the map. They've just got Nesk on the Aruni playing around the Vars area. Other than that, they are pretty much free to start building their push towards and execute.
Indeed they are. I feel like Speakeasy more exists as a prompt to you and me too. Speakeasy, yes, speak it chill. You can do this, boys. He believes in us as we believe in them and their ability to contest Liquid. Grenade now rolling in here towards Bar. Will remove that new gemma on the wall, which may open this up for Jordan to start getting that quad wall open, put an extra layer of threat against the side of Liquid. PSK still holding firm. I was going to say, until this is opened, he can sit here pretty. And now he's got a decision to make. Does he run? Does he stick? Does he twist? What does he do? There's one man inside the luggage. Nessie in the long angle, but not quite far in the head as one steps across in towards VIP. They might see him inside a bedroom. No, but the shots will give Nesk a bit more awareness as to his position. As IG again has stacked up in Aqua. There are 3 of them here. Liquid surely have a read on this by now, Ace.
Even though the wall's been opened up, PSK has been able to just hold his position. There's no major challenge while Nesk is active on Vars. The luggage challenge can't really come in. We see what happens. There you go. Essential kill keeps PSK active. Moringa Nitro onto Jordan. 2 versus 4 now as Invictus continue to try and push, but Palu, PSK, they put the Frighteners onto Invictus and shut them down. That's going to be another round for Liquid, and a great hold there. Nesk just absolutely instrumental in PSK being able to keep his position in behind the bar by holding down the angle from luggage. It was beautifully worked from Team Liquid.
I am being left feeling a little bit nervous here for Invictus because their attacks are looking a little bit one-dimensional so far. They've had no one pushing up onto the hookah balcony. They've had no one playing on the hookah window, for example. That's just left players like Nesk, who was on Vars that round, but previously was sat inside a hookah, just free to sit there and chuck C4s, chuck smoke canisters wherever they want. There isn't really any pressure being put onto the backline members of Liquid to make them squirm. Sure, the ones at the front who are staring down the barrel of guns pointing at them from Aqua side are the ones that are having to do a bit of consideration. But I want to see a bit more creativity out of Invictus. More angles of attack. Make Liquid sweat. That's when you'll find your attacks could become a little bit easier rather than stacking 3 or 4 people on the same side of the map.
We're going to be heading down to Kitchen for round number 5. As you say, Invictus, we need to see something of a more multifaceted attack from them. Will they recognise that in time? Only 2 attacking rounds left to go. The thing is, I think it's probably pretty easy against Team Liquid to feel like you need to go in numbers. You're challenging people like Palu, Nesh. You need to go in there with multiple options. You need to be aware that you're probably looking for a trade rather than an outright kill. You send one man in, you're likely to get no men going forward because they will pick them off, and I think that's what's leaving Invictus potentially a little bit short of numbers in multiple areas. They're not wanting to push in sort of singles and doubles. It's instead try and push as a unit of 2 and a unit of 3, or even one big unit of 5. Right now, air jab onto the door outside of office, I think, just to prevent the run out for Aqua balcony. We've got one man playing inside of there. It looks like the Legion of Moringa. It certainly is. No Nitro on side for Moringa, but he can open up a vertical angle. Palu's going to open up Luna Metal as he finds the opening kill there. You just heard the MX4 storm before you saw the kill go down. 5 versus 4. Great start for Liquid once again.
Rough start for Hysterics and Luna, by the way. 0 and 4, 0 and 5, respectively. Struggling to get themselves involved in the game, whereas across on Liquid, no one currently sat below 3 kills, all of them having a hand in shutting IG down, seemingly repeatedly. Needs to be a bit of a change there, I think, because normally Hysterics is a player that we speak about as being one of the best that we've had in APAC for the longest time and can be a real gunner on his day. And sure, players like Speakeasy have kind of stepped into that void that he leaves sometimes and delivered well. But you do want to see your main big gunner in Hysterics doing some work.
Moringa confident there that it was a Gemini drone coming in, so he's just going to then deploy a goo mine and just see if he can catch anybody that's going to follow that up with a push into security. Speakeasy takes a look, but he will only catch the shadow of Moringa as he moves away and gets himself back up the white stairs. Rotations galore here as there is a lot of free movement available for Team Liquid, and I think that's something else that they've done pretty well. They've kept Invictus guessing, and I suppose on the converse of that, Invictus haven't really been bringing those surprises that we've seen from them coming in. I said they've been exciting because they'd done things that were unexpected. Maybe they can do a little bit more of that once they get themselves onto the defense, but let's not get carried away just yet. Sexicake and Nesk have now both gone by the wayside. 4 versus 3, Invictus find themselves in control coming into the final minute. They've got multiple angles here, Des, potentially. They've got a couple inside of Sunrise. They've got one on window. They need to work with this and build some pressure.
Pressure is starting to be applied here. Liquid know they're in the number disadvantage, and PSK with 2 smokes in the back pocket sees the Ash crouch walking around the corner. Hysterics, that's the kind of opening kill you want to get started with in the game, forcing us into a 3 versus 2 as Moringa finds Speakeasy elsewhere. The thing is, can you count them out of this one? No, you cannot. Palu's here, finds the double, making a triple in the round. Joe left in a 1 versus 2. Moringa and Palu stand between him and a second round for his team in the game. Pre-fire comes round the corner. Moringa is down. 20 seconds to play. Palu, he knows what he wants to go for. He hears the drop. He is out of there. He's like, I forgot something back at home. Need to go for a run, guys. Seeing a little bit. Joe wants to push for the kill. He can try and go for the plant if he wants, but I get the feeling there's not going to be enough time. Palu just going to keep on running here. Ring around the roses through Coastline, it turns out to be. Surely he doesn't take the challenge here. The pre-fire comes through. Joe gives it a good go. Palu finding a 4K in the round and getting Liquid round number 5 in the bag.
The problem here, really, for Invictus is not much to do with them. It's the fact that they're meeting Liquid on a day where they are going to find a way. And we see Liquid have these days, and Just like that, you've got a situation where all of a sudden Palu just opens up a couple of kills on that kitchen door. One onto the Hibana, one onto the Ash, and you're in a level situation once again. And you think, oh, well, we've got them down to 2. We're facing off against 2, but you're facing off against Moringa and Palu. And it's never going to be easy to close out. Liquid, they get themselves up to 4-1. They're starting to run away with Coastline now. The LATAM teams are often very, very comfortable here on the Coastline map, and Liquid are showing us that today.
Beautiful start. Very dominant as well. It's kind of what we came to expect from the team that I would wager currently looks the most consistent and strong throughout the whole competition. NIP saw falling down to G2 earlier on, throwing into doubt some questions around how consistent they can be. Saw that Reaper early on today as well put out a tweet saying something like, you know, looking at a VOD review, Liquid always looked like the stronger team, although historically the results don't suggest that. It's always NIP walking away with those first place titles. Could this be the event where Liquid do finally step into the spotlight of their own and claim first place?
We've been waiting for the longest time for that to happen, realistically, for Liquid, for them to have that really big international LAN win, and I'm sure that they have been waiting the longest time as well. They just feel like once they get one, it could be a downhill where they just pick up another after another, but it's just breaking that seal on the first one. So far, so good for them, though, here in Mexico. It's been a very promising set of matches. We've seen them beat TSM, beat Empire, now move on, and it's looking for all the money like they might just beat Invictus as well. 4-1, we come into their final defensive round, and believe me, this isn't likely to change much when they get onto the attack. They're going to be aggressive. If they're coming in 5-1, if they can get this final defense done, they're going to be super aggressive on the attack because they've absolutely no reason not to be at that point.
There's a small little interesting update for you, by the way, that I've just seen from Jesse Chick. Over on the other stream, it is currently Na'Vi coming up against SSG. If Na'Vi lose that game without getting into overtime, they're done. They cannot make playoffs. They'll be one of the first teams to be eliminated. If SSG win in any fashion, they lock themselves down as the first team to make it through to top 8. So a lot to look out for over there. Whereas here, it's kind of a question of, can the gods of Liquid bleed? Can Invictus make them bleed? Or will Liquid continue to show that dominance and leave the rest of the teams in Group D to be the one scrapping over that second place position?
Still 5 versus 5. We've got Luna Metal upstairs with some control, just opening up some angles, attacking onto Sunrise. Jordan with a great kill onto Nesk there. Beautiful headshot from the rappel, and that is a good start for Invictus. That's going to be the alibi gone. Speakeasy just looking to put some pressure in through the soft wall. Luna Metal manages to get one onto Palu. That's 2 big names in the dirt for Team Liquid. And Invictus, they've got an opportunity here. If they come away 2-4 on the half, honestly, it's not going to be the end of the world for them because it's been difficult so far. Liquid have looked like just absolutely running away with it, but they're managing to find something. There comes the quick peek from Luna Metal. He knows that there's a man, but Sexy Kate gets aggressive on the challenge, takes the wide swing and finds the kill. Can he get himself a second onto the rappel? He's going to keep trying. In comes the nade. He's low health. Needs to be careful. It's not going to do the job. Now then, he's just looking for his position. How can he play this so aggressively? In comes the nade. In comes the flashbang. Utility after utility. 40 seconds left, and they're still struggling to get inside of Aqua.
Wasting so much time is the most beautiful part here, because now IG like, well, we've used a lot of our utility. Sure, we've got some flashes left, but what do we do next? Make use of those 5 flashes in your back pocket might not be a bad idea. Surely they know. They see his head peeping back over the sofa. Down he goes. 2 versus 4. Surely Invictus can find this one.
We've seen it before. We've said surely before. We've expected before. But Liquid find a way. Moringa and PSK trying to lock down the site. There goes one with the nitro, but Moringa is down. PSK misses his shots uncharacteristically. He's being pressured from both sides. Diffuser starts to go down, but he manages to drop it. 2 versus 2. Effectively 1 versus 1, as we had one down on either side. But the final kill comes in. PSK loses his life, and Invictus, they manage to get a 2-4. And that is not the end of the world with how this game has gone so far.
You know what the big difference was there? It's the thing that I mentioned back at the end of round 4. Invictus on their attacks a bit one-dimensional, pushing all from one direction, not really having anyone threatening hookah balcony, hookah window. Here, although it was on the downstairs, what they had was the majority of players stacking up inside of office and sent one player to go and push through pool entrance. They found that one freebie kill at the back. He's had himself then dug in behind Sunrise bar that made life really difficult for PSK. Knowing you're being pushed from blue and from Sunrise at the same time, that's never a comfortable situation. They made Liquid sweat, and I'm glad that they learnt that as the half went on. Now we get to switch things over. Invictus get to head onto the defense. Coastline, one of those maps that you look at and we know attackers tend to do well on this map, and not just by the numbers, but on the sheer factor that every single site is bordering a window or some external facing object for the attackers. It's very easy to access sites, to get line of sight into them, to then play into that. So for the defenders, it does mean getting quite aggressive, and that's where things can start getting a little bit dicey. So I hope Invictus have got some good plans here, something to upset Liquid with. Otherwise, they could carry on extending this lead further and further towards a regulation time win.
Well, I mean, let's look optimistically. We've seen some fascinating plays so far from Invictus Gaming on the defense. They've had options, they've had surprises up their sleeve, and like you say, they might just be able to bring one or two of those against Liquid. We're going to be getting back into the server now. The timer ticking down, and in we go to the prep phase. So that's tactical timeout over. Again, we might be looking at the timing of that. Invictus getting themselves around and then slowing things down, but at the end of the day, Liquid needed slowing down because it was getting very difficult for Invictus to keep pace with them. Now, on the defense, they're going to be going to Hooker and Billiards for the first of their defenses. Need to lock down this top floor, and that's going to mean keeping some control over Aqua Balcony and Aqua itself, because Liquid, I think, once they get established in there, they're going to pick those shots up onto the rotation if they can.
They should be. I love the cameras that get placed inside of Aqua, by the way. There's always some cheeky little ones you can do with vault cams in there. Hide it amongst the coral that gets placed in, but a bulletproof, a bit more obvious, but it's like, well, how are you ever going to get up to it to be able to hit it when it's that far dug back? Chances are you're not going to be able to, but already a bit more inventiveness on the defense with the bulletproof in place. You're looking towards the Rooney laser gates coming in on the double doorway as well. Say, Tim, it's been 2 days of casting, and I haven't heard you say that yet.
I've said it loads of times.
Have you?
Yeah, I've said it loads of times.
Maybe not with the emphasis.
You never listen
true,
to
yeah.
me, Des.
No, I know. We talk about this. I know. The last time at marriage counseling, they told me I should listen more. I'm sorry. I'm working on it.
To work on your communication, but Liquid are going to have to work on those laser gates, Des. They're going to have to clear them out before they can push into sight. That double door of Aquarium. There's one on the Hooker door from balcony and also into corridor. The reason that's there is it's preventing throwables coming through onto the position of the Maestro, but you'd usually have a deployable shielding behind that if you were going to have it there. It's usually there to protect the shield, but that's not the case this time. But it will allow the Maestro still to avoid things like grenades, flashbangs coming in for that challenge. But let's have a look at this. Neska's got himself established on that double window rappel, which can make life a living hell for those defenders inside a site.
Indeed, let's see what damage they can do as that clock starts ticking down towards the halfway mark. Jordan dug in behind bar, and look at the difference already in attacks. Let's remember, Liquid put a lot of, Invictus, put a lot of focus on the Aqua side of things when going for their push. Here, Liquid are like ants all over a nest up towards the northwest side. The hookah window, the balcony, you can see where their attack wants to come in here. Drones are inside. They're collecting what information they can. And Joe peeks at the wrong time onto the wrong player. It's Nesk. Never really going to find himself winning too many of those exchanges, that is for sure. Hysteric's now playing in on the downstairs. Also finds it taken out by Palu. They're just waiting for these members of IG to walk into sightlines and bringing them down cozily.
Double window rappel, as I said. Ness getting the opener from there. Luna Metals put himself into no man's land here. Could find himself challenged if he's not careful, but I'm not sure Nesk's aware, and no, will be shut down. Great challenge there. Just getting aggressive. But look, Liquid are deep in sight. They are in full control. Sexy Kate gets the trade, and that leaves Speakeasy with it all to do. 1 versus 3. Diffuser will be successfully planted. There's no doubt of that. Speakeasy looks to move in through luggage towards Aquarium. Needs to find kills. Needs to find them now. And the big difference here in this attack, Des, from Team Liquid has been the way that they have been all over the map. Great jump out there, but can't get in through the window. PSK just catching the last from Hooker Balcony there. And as I said, the big difference there in that attack from Liquid and what we saw from Invictus is the way that, as you said, Des, Liquid were everywhere. They were attacking from every different angle. Invictus could go nowhere safely, and that wasn't something that they managed to create themselves on attack.
I think the look at a lot of it as well was just letting the members of IG try and challenge you. Like, realistically, as a Maestro, you're swinging from that reinforced wall between sites onto the window, and Nesk is holding the angle, just waiting for you to do it. Then you had the mute running downstairs. Parley was holding pool entrance to make sure no one could come below. It's almost like Liquid have focused on taking control of the ground that they needed and no more. That was enough. Hookah was their focus. Bar didn't care about it. Aqua didn't care about it. Vars didn't care about it. They knew what was on their agenda, got control of it, and executed really, really well. Invictus are down 5-2. They go towards kitchen and service for their next setup. We're going to have to find some ideas soon, or this could be a pretty quick game for Liquid.
Certainly could. It's starting to run away from Invictus here, heading down to a different site, as you say, mixing it up, just trying to do something different. But it seems like one of those days, no matter where you probe, no matter where you look for weaknesses inside of Team Liquid, you're not going to get it. They are just rushing over you like a raging torrent that we know that they can be, just washing away all that is in front of them. Invictus, they're unfortunate victims at the moment. Not going to be a game at this rate that they will want to remember, but it's been an excellent tournament so far, and this certainly will not be the end of Invictus. They've had a result against TSM. They'll be confident they can do that again. I think they'll feel good about going the extra step against Empire than they did last time as well, and they're going to keep fighting for this second place late into the tournament, but right now it's not looking like they're going to be challenging for the top spot of Team Liquid.
Here we go. That mirror is an interesting one as well. God. Throwback to ranked a year and a half ago when that was a thing. I haven't seen it for a good long while. With the soft wall on the right hand side here, really effective at challenging onto that front door. A bit of an alternative to having a player sat on white stairs. However, you've got Speakeasy looking to do that down on the south side, so both sides being used at the same level here. I can think of some really interesting 1v1s or post plants dancing around that area as well, where it comes down to ring around the roses a little bit. The second mirror window being committed up towards Penthouse, so a very firm east and lobby side hold coming out of Invictus. So for Liquid, I wonder if they do what they did in the last round and say, yeah, forget your setup inside of Aqua, we're coming from this side. And so far, with a couple of members spawning on this west side, that seems to be the play.
Nesk moving in behind his shock drone, just clearing out the alibi decoy that was in front of him, and then looking to make sure that the way is clear for PSK, looking through that peak hole in towards Blue Bar. It also looks like a line of sight has been opened up in the reinforcement, and on goes the Twitch drone. The mirror window is going to be opened. I'm not sure if that was actually by Invictus.
That was the switch.
The
yeah, there is a switch there,
just tucked in. Just inside, tucked in under the counter. He's just switching in between those quite rapidly. So well played from Ness. That's a good bit of utility burnt away from him. Alibi just going to be repositioning that decoy into the 90 corridor just to see if she can get any joy with a little scan. The Rotero is going to open up the remainder of that soft wall. So now multiple angles into kitchen. Invictus, they're going to start feeling the heat very, very soon.
Well, indeed. Starts to boil up a little bit here. Look at that angle being held into the lobby as well in case there's anything too cheeky. Palu moving at almost a slightly imperfect moment. Sees the man behind the bar, goes to the challenge. Catches Jordan. Now, Red Beret, a bit of a shoot me kind of indicator, like apples at a country fair on someone's head if we were talking about the medieval ages. Joe, finally one back onto Sexy Cake, 4 versus 4, but 2 come through in rapid succession for Liquid. 4 versus 2, and this is boiling out exactly how we expected, Ace.
You can't peek onto the main door if you know that Palu's playing there, because the outcome's likely going to be the same. But Luna Metal waits for Ness to strafe across, finds a great kill. PSK on the trade, and that is something that Liquid have done so well this game, Des, is find those trades. Now, Joe gets one through the door and the rotation onto the sledge. Can he find a second? No. PSK on the Flores. He comes in looking just as stylish as his operator and shuts the man down on the door, and Liquid take themselves onto match point 6-2 now.
I mean, this is pretty dominant, and this is kind of what we expected coming into it. There were some hopes that we would see a renewed Invictus after some really good games yesterday. A close defeat to Empire, a victory over TSM. Really, you need to be taking points out of big games like this one as well. Even if in overtime to a loss, at least it would be something that would stack you up pretty well against the likes of Empire and TSM. If nothing else, it just goes to show to me that, again, you're going to see this first place being taken by Liquid. But then what happens to that second place spot? It's kind of anyone's guess, to be honest. It's going to be Empire, I think, holding into it currently. You'll have Invictus sat in 3rd and TSM quite firmly in 4th place, as they are 0 and 3 at the moment. Just make the group incredibly spicy.
Yeah, at this point, it's likely to be a straight-up fight between Empire and Invictus. As you say, Empire now on 5 points. Invictus will be on 4 after this game if Liquid do continue on to the win, which is looking likely at this point. So Empire will take the driving seat with the second place, and it looks like it's going to be a fight to the end. I tell you what, Des, that next Invictus Empire game tomorrow, that is going to be something.
Okie dokie. Final possible round stepping in. Setup wise, looking worth screaming home about. We saw again the Flores coming out of PSK as we did in the prior round. effective to some level. We didn't really see it so much on the screen itself, but whenever you hear those Roteros going off, you hear them being deployed, you know something is being caught out there. Utilities being removed, mirrors are being popped, soft walls are being opened up, shields are being removed. It does make it hard when you can do nothing really except sit and watch all the stuff you've set up in the round so far being taken away, whether it's the Evil Eyes, the bandages, the shield coming out of the smoke. The only real threat to the Rotero drones is the mute jammers themselves, and even then, they're often dealt with by the nades or, in some cases, Twitch drones, as we saw coming out of Nest. So I feel bad for Invictus that essentially nothing is sacred or safe.
No, that's it. It's very difficult to hold on not only to their lives but to their utility here, as Liquid are just finding ways to pick apart every single thing they try to do. Neska's got himself onto the aquarium balcony rappel for the time being. He's going to be working with the drones, I think. There is a man downstairs in office. That's speakeasy underneath. The challenge is potentially going to come in here, but he is going to be pinched from blue bar window as well if he's not careful, with Nesk approaching the office door. Now, if speakeasy sees the man on the long angle there, does take out the drone to limit the information. Still 5 versus 5 and a minute into the round. Liquid yet to find that opener.
Doesn't really matter for them. I don't think they'll be too worried about pace, and it's something we touched on with them a few times yesterday. They take 2 minutes or so to clear their way through a map. Wouldn't really be too concerned, because even in the final 40 seconds or so when the execute actually started, it was so deliberate and so clean that there was no real panic of, oh god, they haven't found the entry kill yet, there's only 40 seconds to go, that you might get with some teams. They always look convincing. As it steps in here, Luna, the one who's maybe being threatened out towards the east side. Of course, the defense is out towards the west, but he's slowly being surrounded here. VIP being held up. This could make his life a little bit harder. Surviving here, sees Rooney. Nesk expecting him to be at head height, not to be the case as he was crouched. Both walk away. Nesk, the one scratched and damaged. Hysterics coming in with the 1 kill for them. That's a great start for Invictus and may just prolong their hopes of surviving a little longer.
It really is. 1 minute left to go. 5 versus 4, and Invictus on a better defense here, managing to get the shutdown onto PSK as he moves in. Hysterics, very low health, but does take the peak. That's going to be Nesk down as well. This is almost certainly their round. Big double from Luna Metal, exactly when they need it. 5 versus 1. 45 seconds left to go, and it's all down to Parlu. He's on the hunt to try and find anything. He's going to need something to get this round going, and 1 versus 5, it's looking very unlikely for him at this point.
Yeah, not one that you expected to walk away as the winner of, as close as it may be coming down to for him in some of these rounds. Currently at 9-3, soon to be 9-4, 10-4 if he can find anything for his trouble. But you don't really see him, even as great as he is, pulling off a 1 versus 5 with 20 seconds to go.
Just looking to see if he can get anything. Gets one man on the drop there. That's going to be the kill onto Hysterics. 10 seconds left to go. Takes a lungful of that toxic gas and a few bullets to the face as well. That's going to close out the round for Invictus. They keep themselves fighting for a little bit longer here.
Just a tiny little bit. One more round, potentially keeping themselves going. One of those that I look at and just think, can you really see a comeback coming in this round, Ace? Or in this game, sorry, rather than the whole round. Probably not on paper. It would require a lot of innovation, a lot of difference, given how dominant they could have been. 3 rounds on the bounce, Invictus need to send it to overtime, but maybe the pull, that allure of just 1 point in overtime could be enough to drag them there.
It could. It's extremely unlikely. There's a lot of work for them to do, but like you say, you know, every journey starts with a single step, doesn't it? You know, you've got to get your way out there to begin with and then see where you can go from there. And Invictus, they're going to see if they can start that journey down in Kitchen. It's round number 10 now, and they have got some work to do.
What special's got to come on the way. Time will tell. On the defensive side, I've really enjoyed how much alibi we have seen. I know we mentioned it a little bit earlier on as well, but not just the fact that it brings a shield. That's why you're seeing it in place of, say, the smoke, because teams do want at least 1 shield to bring along, where Goyo isn't really something you want to be bringing. But throwing the fact that, say, before it used to be a Frost that you'd often see coming along, it's that 1.5 now currently going onto the Storm that is making alibi quite prominent. Not so much that she's completely overpowering, but she is becoming ever more present here at the Mexico Major.
Action phase begins then. There's quite a large top floor presence from Invictus here. Actually only 1 on site at the minute. I'm not sure if Liquid are aware of that, but they could potentially look for a rush towards site if they were. There's men all over the map right now. Jordan has got himself inside a Sunrise looking for an early peak. He's not going to have any joy there as Liquid don't expose themselves. And he's going to just move his way back towards site. Topical Vibes is being covered at the minute by Hysterics, just using that shotgun to open up a rotate as well. And Liquid looking to get themselves established inside a VIP. It means they're going to have to play into and deal with Theatre.
Yeah, it's always a dangerous one. The mirror window staring it down. So used to seeing this one. Here it's going to be about the challenge of that. You can get it, of course, threatening out with grenades, for example. You can push it from the south side on white stairs. There are options to contest it. But it's about the support that can also come in from below, from the defenders if needs be here. For example, Luna with the angle that you just saw a second ago. Almost a perfect example of the kind of support that can be given. Toss the C4 through that hole when they stack in 2 members into VIP. And guess what? You've got yourself a couple of kills coming in. It would be absolutely beautiful.
It would be. The aggression is coming through. Hibana's in there. We get the nade kill from Palu, but Luna Metal at the same time manages to hit the nitro on to Moringa. 4 versus 4, and this round certainly kicks off. 1 minute 30 left to go. Top floor control is largely going to be in the possession of Liquid now, although they still do have the one man in the back of Theatre. Palu finds Hysterics. That's going to be Speakeasy that is just trying to hold this long angle. He could be an important piece in this puzzle for Invictus. The challenge is going to be coming in, but he finds one onto Nesk. Liquid now know that he's there, but he will probably take the opportunity to drop the hatch, but he may well take another man out before he does. But no, the Rotero drone forces him out. He's aware that there's one on door and he's going to be challenged. Speakeasy could be pivotal inside of this round.
Steps up, partly finding those 2 that they need. 3 versus 3. Invictus still in with the chance here as long as they can hold on. The pressure building up. Flores doing some work. Service being opened up at least momentarily. That ghost or phantom pressure, as I like to call it, from Sexy Kate, just letting them know that someone could be out there at a moment's notice. But here he is on the top floor. Finds Jordan. 3 versus 2. Speakeasy and Luna Metal with it all to do against PSK, Sexy Cake and Palu.
35 seconds, and there's probably going to be an opportunity for the diffuser to go down as well. Sexy Cake heading in that direction. Palu looking to move in. Takes the default cam. There's only one on site now. It's Luna Metal. He's going to look to make a long-range challenge, but that lets them know where he is. Sexy Kate with an important kill. 2 versus 1. It's all down to Speakeasy, but surely this is an opportunity for Liquid to close it out. Sexy Kate getting the diffuser down, likely to have time to do so. He's got PSK on the cover. He's using the mirror against them. Steps away, maybe at the wrong time, but no, the diffuser is planted. There goes the melee to close out the window, but they know exactly. There we go. Sexy Kate closes it out, and that is brilliant from Team Liquid. It is a solid victory.
Very, very convincing. 7-3. A couple of rounds in which Invictus looked like a bit flashy. But they had something to say, something to deliver. But ultimately, Liquid continued their march towards absolute dominance in Mexico. Phenomenal across all 3 games. And the best part is they get to do it all over again by playing these 3 teams again in the continuation of the double round robin format that we've got here in Mexico.
That's the real beauty of it all. You know, these games that we've seen so far and enjoyed so much, we get to see them all again. It's like non-stop, wall-to-wall entertainment, and I am here for it. I just can't wait for the Invictus Empire and Invictus TSM games now to start making some decisions about this second place.
Another man that's going to love this himself. Let's get Jackie back on, because a LATAM victory means a happy Jackie this late at night, right?
Oh, you know it does, Des. The LATAM lunacy, the boys in blue, Liquid locking it down, Coastline to boot as well, right? All of the nuggets we could want. All of like the LATAM infinity gems were put into the gauntlet that is just Tim's head. What a banger. Tim, exciting stuff. Obviously, when we got to Coastline, that for me was like the foreshadow that this was going to be a Liquid lockdown. At what point were you sat there realizing that LATAM are just unstoppable?
Well, I think it was the defences of Liquid. You know, we usually expect the attackers to do quite well on Coastline, but Liquid having absolutely none of it. I mean, we could look at the absolute very first kill that we just saw there. Sexy Cake stepping out and just Nesk punching the door for him. He steps out and gets a long-range kill. It was just beautiful from there, and it was all downhill for them. The thing is, a game like that was a bit of a runaway for Team Liquid, but there's a different kind of excitement in there, because now Liquid are starting to build momentum. It's not necessarily about the performance inside of this game or the result. For me, it's about Liquid in the tournament now, and they're starting to look unstoppable.
On the flip side, Des, I know it was quite a one-sided scoreline, but in terms of what we saw from Invictus, do you still think they've got more to show throughout the tournament, or do you feel like maybe we've seen them pushed a little bit too far there?
I think maybe pushed a little bit too far. They looked good at points, like I mentioned. They're doing some good work, but ultimately you're against some of the big teams here. You're in the group of death. Empire are switching on. Maybe there's another good defeat of TSM in this group to come. I don't know yet, but Liquid take first place, and by the looks of it, Empire go on to take second, unless there's a big upset against Empire to come.
Something else that's interesting as well, of course, in terms of news for the overall tournament, we now know that Na'Vi have actually been knocked out based off the result that's just gone down the 8th stream. Yeah, so SSG through to playoffs. Na'Vi, they're out, Tim.
They can't do it. That's it. The thing is, you know, they had a good start against SSG, but not good enough to get the win. And then they've just never been able to really get going from there. They've just never kicked into gear, and it's been unfortunate because we see a very different Na'Vi in EUL to the one that we've seen here consistently. They just haven't woken up.
It is a shame. Obviously, a formidable side, but just not showing up on the day in Mexico City. Let's have a look at the two teams that have just turned up in Mexico, though, and check out the stats for the series that's just gone by. Des, key standouts from this?
I mean, really, you're talking about Palu potentially in this. Big couple of rounds coming out from him, but Sexy Cake also being quite a terror out on the roam, I thought, for the most part as well. 10-6 in the game. Not normally the player that you're celebrating for that kind of thing. It's Nesk, it's Palu, for example, but done some good work. No complaints there, but it seems to be the theme throughout the day, to be honest. At the winning team, they have a pretty good spread across the roster, and it's the same story here for Liquid.
Yeah, it's always good to see Sexy Cake stepping up to the mask. Normally a very reliable player. He's looking good. He has cut his hair, Tim, which I was a little bit worried about if that would affect his skill level, but it seems like it's not knocked it.
Well, that's it. You got to wonder, is that where the power comes from? But obviously not. 10 kills here, and we've got good cost ratings across the board for Liquid. It was an all-round solid performance. You know, more rounds would have equaled more kills, but they just did exactly what they needed to. Professionals going about the business.
And one question I want to have for you, Des, is in terms of form from what we saw from Liquid there, obviously quite a quick game, really. In terms of the scoreline, it was fairly one-sided. Is Liquid looking like they're on form for you? Is this a side that you can feel like, yeah, they're looking like them true selves?
Yeah, I honestly think they are, to be fair. They'll be a real good challenge for that top spot at the very end of the major. I've been saying all along, NIP, SSG, Liquid, they're the top three that I expect to be there at the end of it. And Liquid, to be honest, right now, I think arguably are looking like the strongest of the three. That's how convincing they look, as long as on the day the right people are showing up. Big challenge, I guess, is when it comes to playoffs, you've got to show up day after day after day, game after game after game. They know what it's like to get into a real slog, like they did at SI. But for me, this is Liquid's time to do it all.
Palu and Nesk are going to be licking their lips. They always love it when they are on the scene. In terms of what's coming up next here, though, when we come back after the break, it's going to be quite an exciting one. BDS versus Team 1. Tim, there's a little surprise in store for that game, isn't there?
It certainly is. You and I are going to be jumping on the mic, Jackie. We're going to be rolling back the years and heading back to our LATAM lovelies, Luis de Lagonis in the server. Alamai popping off. It's going to be a big game.
All the boys, all the fan favourites, and all the glory of having Desertu in the hosting role. Come back for that. It is going to be exciting. That will be going down after the break.